broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, see, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to ask John Coe, a family member, Priscilla Sayers, a survivor, and Chief M.T. Berry, the Oklahoma City Police Chief, on behalf of the rescuers, to come forward and present to you the preamble of the mission statement of the Oklahoma City National Memorial.
We've come here to remember those who were killed,
those who survived, and all of us changed forever.
May all who leave here know the impact of violence. May this memorial offer comfort, strength, peace, hope, and serenity.
Please be seated.
Let us all stand for prayer. Our beloved and gracious Heavenly Father, today we gather on this hallowed turf to dedicate a national memorial to honor those who gave their lives on this spot on April 19th, 1995. Since that awful day, 60 months ago, those of us who are survivors of this cowardly act have experienced the full gamut of human emotions. We have wept, we have mourned, we have experienced anger, and we have questioned as we've tried to make sense of what can only be described as a senseless act. Many has been the day, our Father, when I've looked from the windows of our church down at the site where the Murrah building once stood, and I've cried out to you, saying in my own feeble way the things the prophet Habakkuk uttered 2,300 years ago when faced with similar circumstances. The prophet cried out, "O Lord, how long will I cry, and thou wilt not hear me? I cry out to thee violence, yet thou dost not save. Why dost thou make me see iniquity and cause me to look upon wickedness? Yes, destruction and violence are before me. Strife exists and contentions arise. The law is ignored and justice is never upheld. For the wicked surround the righteous, therefore justice comes out perverted." I would speak those words, O God, and you would respond to me with more words from Habakkuk. And this is how you answered my complaints. As you said to the prophet, you have said to me, "For I will work a work in your days which ye shall not believe, though it be told to you." And this completed memorial standing on this sacred sod is an unbelievable thing. In fact, our Father, who would have believed what we have already seen on this site? The gallantry of rescue teams from around this nation, the compassion of a grieving world, the matchless generosity of the people of this city, state, and nation, and especially the leadership of our city. It's all been unbelievable, O God. You have indeed worked a work in our day. Now I beseech you to once again rise from your rest. Let us see you do another mighty work in our day. I ask you for that which Habakkuk asked. Renew your work in our day, and in our time make them known. Use this memorial we dedicate today to witness to the triumph of good over evil, righteousness over wickedness, joy over sorrow, and love over hate. As the children of Oklahoma City sang this morning, make it to be an instrument of your peace. Finally, our Father, help us to never forget those who step from this place into the life of the world to come. Cause their memories to live with us until that day when we meet again. And we ask for these things in the name and authority of Jesus the Christ, who lives and reigns forever, world without end. Amen.
Be thou
It happened on American soil, the worst terrorist attack in U.S. history. And now, 5 years later, on this hallowed ground, we raise the nation's lasting tribute. April 19, 1995 was a day overshadowed by tragedy. But out of chaos has arisen a coming together of people of all walks of life to memorialize this tragedy in a manner which is indeed unique in America's history. This morning, family members were able to experience the power of the bronze and glass chairs honoring their loved ones. Survivors were able to touch granite panels salvaged from the Murrah building, now etched with their names. This morning, rescuers, many for the first time, returned to this site where heartlessness was met with heroism beyond measure. They were able to see the transformation of the site, including the bosque of trees dedicated to the remembering the valor of their efforts. To close the ceremony this morning, 3 flags were raised to represent the unity of our city, our state, and our nation in helping us endure our greatest times of need. This afternoon, we want to thank all Americans for their selfless generosity. As is inscribed on the wall of the Survivor Tree Promontory, to the courageous and caring who came from near and far, we offer our eternal gratitude. This memorial, in all of its beautiful grandeur, is not about being monumental or being spectacular. It is about people. Those individuals most deeply touched by the tragedy come to you today with special messages from their hearts. Janine Gist represents the collective hearts of the families who have been the guiding force behind this memorial. On April 19, 1995, Janine lost her youngest daughter, Karen Gist Carr. As a sensitive listener, Janine has responded time and time again with quiet strength and grace. She has been instrumental in shaping our memorial journey, which has led one member of a victim's family to say, through the memorial process, chaos has been transformed into hope and unity. Speaking from the hearts of the families, ladies and gentlemen, Janine Gist.
Thank you, Bob. I'm honored to be speaking to you today. There are certain events surrounding the Murrah building bombing that we will always remember. One of the most important is the incredible support we received not only from the Oklahoma community, but also from the people of this great country and the people around the world. We will remember the rescue workers who worked tirelessly day and night in order to bring our loved ones back to us. We'll remember those who stood in long lines to give blood, and the countless others who rallied to help in every way they could. We'll remember you, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It was a time we will never forget, and we will never forget our loved ones who died that day. Many family members, rescuers, and survivors have contributed toward making this bombing memorial become a reality. Only months after the bombing, a task force was appointed by then Mayor Ron Norick to discuss building a bombing memorial. The many meetings that followed brought together family members, survivors, rescue workers, and members of the community to discuss how best to remember and honor all those involved. At first, it was a very difficult process. Emotions were raw. We were hurt and angry and still in shock. At times, it seemed like we would never get anything done. but we did. Thanks to a consensus-building process led by Memorial Chairman Bob Johnson and to the dedication of all those involved, we were able to come together. We created the mission statement and helped choose the design that you see for this beautiful memorial here today. We hope all of you are as proud of it as we are.
Thank you, Janine. There were hundreds who suffered the horror of April 19, 1995, and yet miraculously survived. They also have courageously contributed to our arrival to this day in our memorial journey. On the morning of the bombing, Florence Rogers, as president of the Federal Employees Credit Union, had just convened a meeting of her staff when the bomb ripped half of the building away. She lost 18 employees that day, many of them sitting across the desk from her at the time of the blast. With a message from the hearts of the survivors, Florence Rogers.
Today we gather to dedicate this very special place. We have many to thank. First, God. Thank you for the opportunity to again see the sunrise on this sacred sanctuary and for sparing our lives 5 years ago this very day. And to our families for their love, their support, and understanding as we survived our darkest hours. To our 168 friends that we remember here today, thank you for the opportunity we had to know you. To those who responded on April the 19th and in the days that followed, you are our heroes. To this site we dedicate today, thank you for providing this place for us to return to share hope. To all the hands that were involved in the design and construction of this beautiful place, thank you for your labors of love. To the survivor tree, thank you for watching over this place and for becoming the symbol of continued life. To the reflecting pool, thank you for providing serenity and calm to all of those who were changed and to all who will come here. To the chairs, thank you for providing a place of rest, a place to remember, and a place to hold the etched names of all those we lost. To these gates of time, thank you for standing tall, marking a time in our history, and telling the world why we come here. To all who contributed, from the children who sent their pennies to the largest corporate gift, thank you for helping us to build this national shrine. To all the volunteers and staff of the Oklahoma City National Memorial Foundation, thank you for the love and kindness and for the countless hours that you have given to see this project to its fruition. To our city, state, and federal governments, thank you for understanding that this memorial had to be built, that this place had to be sacred, that this place had the memory had to exist so that all can remember and learn from what happened here. And to the media, thank you for showing the world what a wonderful community we live in and how we all came together to help one another. Today, we give this place to the world so that you will know that we are united to prove that acts of terrorism will not dampen the American spirit, not here in Oklahoma City, not anywhere.
Thank you, Florence. 5 years ago, our nation was inspired by the unselfish example of our rescue workers. Keep in mind, they weren't trying to inspire us. They were just doing their job, and that's the way they see it. On that day, their job became unthinkable. But our police, fire, medical, rescue, alongside their fellow citizens, all demonstrated extraordinary valor. On behalf of all rescue workers, a man who led the rescue effort, Oklahoma City Fire Chief Gary Mars, brings you their message.
To those who responded from near and far, we offer our eternal gratitude. That quote will forever be in stone, set in the wall surrounding the survivor tree and overlooking the rescue workers' orchard. It is fitting that an orchard was selected as a symbol of those hundreds of workers who came to this site and gave their all to the rescue and then recovery of our people who were so devastated on that day in April of '95, because they give of themselves in and they continue to give of themselves year in and year out. When we speak of rescue workers on that day, the term transcends the usual meaning of the first responders. It includes those who represented the resources of this entire city and ultimately of an entire nation. It includes all those who made available their services so the workers on the front line could give their best. The list of the types of peoples involved would be too long to read here today, but they know who they are, and we are eternally grateful. We sometimes call the rescuers heroes, but in many ways, heroes may be the wrong word. These are people who just did their job. They did their job for which they were professionally trained, and they did the job for which they were born. They responded as humans, reaching out to help other humans. They used their skills to help others because they wanted to help others. That's what makes them who they are, and they do it every day of the year. On April 19, 1995, hundreds of rescue workers responded to what was, and we hope will ever be, the worst terrorist attack on American soil. The scene they encountered was heartbreaking. The effort they expended was monumental. All of them left a piece of themselves here, and we hope this memorial will become a place of peace and comfort for them as they walk its paths and relax in its space. Not just in remembrance of April 19th, but for all the other traumas these rescuers will face in their professional lives. Perhaps here they can gain a peace that they can walk beside them as they face each new day.
Thank you, Chief Mars. The family members, survivors, rescue workers have been an essential part of the memorial process from the very beginning. They have given their time, courageously shared their experiences, and come together in unity to guide the creation of this memorial. Please join me in expressing our gratitude for the inspiration they have provided us. During the past 5 years, our community has worked to rebuild not only our neighborhoods, but our lives. Not to replace, but to remember. Not to erase, but to educate. The City of Oklahoma City has been our partner throughout that process. They helped us secure land on which a portion of the memorial is built. They helped us transform 5th Street, once a site of great violence, to the serene reflective pool there today. From the public works and traffic management to the police and fire departments, from the city manager to the mayor's office to the city council, thank you for that partnership. Thank you for helping us reach this day. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Mayor of Oklahoma City, the Honorable Kirk Humphreys.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of your President's Cabinet, members of our Congressional delegation, we are honored by your presence with us today. Mr. President, in particular, we thank you and thank the Congress for the overwhelming assistance you've been to us over these 5 years of recovery. Thank you. Governor Mrs. Keating, thank you for leading us in those dark days after the bombing. You led us with skillful hands and caring hearts, and we thank you for that. And to the rescue workers and friends from across the country, thank you for being with us today. We come here today to dedicate this memorial as a place where all Americans and indeed all mankind can come to remember, to reflect, and to find renewal. The 168 chairs help us remember those whose lives were taken here and the many who suffered injuries which changed their lives forever. The shattered wall section of the Murrah building just behind me helps us remember the violence of the act that was perpetrated here. The reflecting pool in the center of the memorial helps us reflect on what happened here and its meaning. How fitting that this pool of serenity is the very place where the bomb exploded. And that's the message of this place. In this place, love conquered hatred. Sacrifice overcame selfishness. And what was meant to divide Americans united Americans. This is a place to help us remember and to reflect and to renew. Aren't you glad there's a survivor tree? I'll tell you, that's one tough tree. It not only survived the fire and the blast of the bomb, but it's prospered over the last 5 years, just like we have as a city. It's a fitting symbol for the people of Oklahoma City. We're survivors. We've weathered the Dust Bowl. You can go ahead and clap, that's all right. We've weathered the Dust Bowl, we've weathered the oil bust, we've even weathered an F5 tornado, and we're still standing. And that survivor tree reminds us to renew our commitment to one another, and it gives us hope for a brighter tomorrow. So on behalf of the people of Oklahoma City, I want to thank the Memorial Foundation and Bob Johnson, their staff, for their leadership in bringing us to this point and giving us this beautiful setting where we can remember what happened, reflect on its meaning, and find renewal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Humphreys. 5 years ago, the world watched in awe as a senseless act of violence was met by Oklahomans responding with thousands of acts of virtue. Such response created a new standard for helping our fellow man in time of need, a standard which has become known worldwide as the Oklahoma Standard. Today, the character and resilience of Oklahomans remain as symbols of courage and hope for this nation. Yesterday, our governor and state legislative leadership continued to live up to that standard by announcing an appropriation of $2.3 million to complete the capital funding for this three-component memorial. Because of such completion funding from our state government, the Interactive Learning Museum, which will be located in a part of the General Record Building, will be opened in November of this year. It is through the educational programs that will come out of the Memorial Center that we will fulfill the promise of hope of this memorial by educating our young people. We sincerely thank each of our state officials for helping us realize this very, very important milestone. From the moments after the tragedy, Frank Keating has been leading our state through a period of recovery. Please welcome the Governor of the State of Oklahoma, the Honorable Frank Keating.
Thank you. 136 years ago, Abraham Lincoln spoke at the dedication of another American shrine, the battlefield at Gettysburg. He said, "The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here." We have come full circle to another American shrine, another patch of hallowed ground, another place of memories. We too will never forget what they did here. Our friends and neighbors, and so many of those wonderful helpers who have come back to be with us today. They showed great courage. They exhibited boundless compassion. They suffered and triumphed, and 168 of them gave their lives. Make no mistake, the names inscribed on those chairs on a smooth, grassy slope where a building once stood are the names of heroes and heroines all. So are the names on the wall that records the survivors. And so are all of you, members of a vast and loving family that has been through so much, all of us together, since April 19th, 1995. We all remember the symbols, the ribbons, the angels, the shining lighted cross that looked down from tall buildings at night, the many colored flags that guarded the rescue workers by day. We remember the fence with its thousands of offerings of love. We remember that moment that is framed forever by these twin gates, but most of all, we remember our neighbors. Our place of remembrance is filled with those symbols. It is also filled with love, the love of countless Americans whose ideas and support and contributions helped make this beautiful memorial possible. I remember so many times in the days after the bombing when those who had come to Oklahoma to help would tell me how wonderful Oklahomans are. I knew what they meant. We came through together. We built this memorial together, and we are together again today. On April 19th, 5 years ago, another spring Wednesday like today, the flag of our nation was flying over the Murrah building. It is flying over our memorial today, and I know it flies proudly in all of your hearts. For those who perpetuated this act, we have one message. In America, you can speak and write and vote and complain, but there is no right to maim and bomb and kill. And if you think that you can bring that flag down, there is your answer. We have so many special guests today. It is a homecoming for many of you who came to Oklahoma in 1995 and gave us your sweat and your tears and your support. We welcome home all of you. This is your home. We are all Oklahomans today, and we are all Americans. May God continue to bless our beloved land.
Throughout this democratized memorial process, we have accomplished many firsts. Many of these would not have happened without congressional support. We asked Congress to help us become a unit of the national park system in a very unique way. And they responded by creating the Oklahoma City National Memorial Trust. We asked them to secure research funding for our living memorial component, the Oklahoma City National Memorial Institute for the Prevention of Terrorism. And they responded with $15 million and a congressional designation of the Institute as a national point of contact for counterterrorism information and research. Leading our effort in Congress has been our entire congressional delegation, and we thank you. On behalf of the delegation, please welcome our senior United States Senator, the Honorable Don Nichols.
Bob, thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome back to Oklahoma. I remember when you came to Oklahoma during the memorial service, and you helped us in the healing process. And Governor Keating, I want to compliment you and Kathy Keating because you've done an outstanding job as a spokesperson for Oklahoma, and frankly, in making the healing process possible, and have represented us very well. And we thank you as well. And Chief Mars, maybe you don't quite feel comfortable with the word hero, but on behalf of all Oklahomans, behalf of all Americans, to all the rescue workers, we think of you as heroes. You are heroes to us, and we're very proud of what you've done. Robert Johnson asked me if I'd say a couple of words on behalf of the delegation. 5 years ago, the Oklahoma Congressional delegation were all en route to a meeting, important meeting in Dallas, Texas. I've got one of those phone calls like many of you did on April 19th, 1995. My chief of staff, Mark Nichols, called and said, "Boss, you better come back." He said, "We've had a real tragedy in Oklahoma City. Something happened. Our building, it's just a few blocks from here, was shaken. We hear the ambulances right now, or the fire trucks, that said they're going continually. This may be the worst tragedy in Oklahoma history. Come back quick." Now, I remember by the time I received here, I remember his comments were exactly right. This was devastating. This was horrific. This was worse than anything I'd ever seen. And then I remember seeing the volunteers. And I remember seeing the workers. I remember seeing the cooperation. I remember seeing so many people doing so many things. Today, we look back from a distance of 5 years to a tragic event without equal in our nation's history. We remember the innocent victims and their families, their friends and their loved ones. We remember the countless hundreds who were injured physically and emotionally by the blast. We remember the many more from all corners in the state and the nation who came together to help in the rescue process and then in the healing process. We recognize and pay tribute to the spirit of recovery, courage, and faith that has been an example and encouragement to everyone all across our country. By this memorial, we're saying that evil will not defeat good. We are saying good will defeat evil. I remember well in meeting with Governor Keating and Mayor Norick and others saying we need to have an appropriate memorial. And so we worked with individuals, and basically the congressional delegation said, this will be legislation that won't be written by the senators and the congressmen. This is legislation that will be written by the victims, by the families, by their survivors. This will be legislation written by the millions of people who had an impact to be part of the process. I remember, Bob, the meeting that we had in the Oklahoma State Capitol where we had numerous people testify that participated in the process. And I want to compliment you. Congress passed, and the President signed, and I thank you for that, in 1997, legislation authorizing the memorial. the Oklahoma City National Memorial Act, passed and signed in 1997. It was national because this had national impact. Today we have people who were supporters, rescue workers from Virginia and Maryland, California, New Mexico, other places all across the country. We have people who donated financially all across the country, frankly, all across the world, that wanted to be part of this process. So we passed this Oklahoma City National Memorial Act that authorized the memorial, created the trust, and I just want to make one comment. I will tell you that Robert Johnson, who spent countless hours, is now president of the Oklahoma City National Memorial Trust. Bob, you've done one heck of a good job, and you've made all of us very proud. The legislation we passed in '97 also created the Oklahoma City National Memorial Foundation, which has been in charge of raising the money. And Mr. President, this is part of the Park Service, and the federal government contributed $5 million to kick it off, but they had a goal of almost $30 million. So most of the money, about 75 or 80% of the money, has been paid for by the state and by voluntary private contributions all across the country. And to the contributors who made that happen, we want to say thank you. To the leader of the foundation, who's led the fundraising drive, is Karen Luke. And Karen, you've done a fantastic job as chairwoman of our foundation. I also want to thank many of the survivors who have had a significant impact on victims' rights, on national legislation of significant importance. We passed legislation not because of your congressional delegation, but frankly because we had members of survivors, people like Diane Leonard and others who helped us pass the Terrorism Prevention Act of 1996. This was a bill that has significant impact. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court ruled on it just yesterday, and they upheld what we passed in legislation, making sure that we'll have an end to endless appeals, to make sure that justice does come about eventually, sooner rather than not indefinitely. That's now law of the land. It also strengthened the death penalty for individuals who were involved in causing the death of a federal officer killed in the line of action. We also passed some legislation, as Bob mentioned, the Institute for Prevention of Terrorism, which will be held, or hosted, I guess, in the Journal Record Building. And it's announced today that an Oklahoman, General Denny Reimer, will be head of that institute. This is an institute that's created nationally to make sure that we don't have repeat incidences of terrorism like this, to avoid it, to stop it, to make sure it doesn't happen, and to make sure if it does happen that we'll have the appropriate response, a response that can be modeled after the excellent response that we had in Oklahoma City. Now, it's my hope that this memorial will serve as a monument to those whose lives were taken and to those who will bear the physical and mental scars for the rest of their days. It will stand as a testament of hope, generosity, courage, shown after the tragedy by Oklahomans and by our fellow Americans. It will be a place of remembrance, of peace, spirituality, comfort, and learning. It's appropriate, I think, to quote Psalms. Psalm 118. In my anguish I cried to the Lord, and he answered me by setting me free. The Lord is with me, I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? The Lord is with me, he is my helper. I will look in triumph on my enemies.
Thank you, Senator Nichols. To ensure the high quality and care for the memorial, we asked to become a part of the National Park System. As Senator Nichols mentioned, in October 1997, President Clinton signed the Oklahoma City National Memorial Act, which established this memorial as a unit of the National Park System, as a national memorial, and created the Oklahoma City National Memorial Trust. The trust will oversee and administer this memorial in a unique partnership with the Oklahoma City National Memorial Foundation and the National Park Service, where our community has built a memorial so the world will always remember. We believe that on this very ground where an attack was made on our government, our cooperative public-private partnership can and will become a model for other government agencies and other national parks to follow. Please welcome the Director of the National Park Service, Robert Stanton.
President Clinton, Attorney General Reno, Governor Keating, Senator Nichols, Mayor Humphreys, Chairman Johnson, honored families, the survivors, the rescuers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, American friends, all. I am pleased and honored to bring you greetings on behalf of the men and women of the National Park Service. I particularly want to extend a greeting to the young people who are with us on this historic occasion. I too want to join with Governor Keating, Senator Nichols, and all who have paid a tribute to you, Bob Johnson, and to the Oklahoma City National Memorial Trust. The National Park Service is very proud to be a partner sharing the stewardship responsibilities for this special place, the Oklahoma City National Memorial. The common thread of all units of the National Park System is that each place represents a principal element of the heritage of America. Each is a place we feel represent those whom we honor, places and events which are part of our national heritage and give us hope and courage to become better citizens. One of our greatest accomplishments as a nation, it seems to me, is that we have come to recognize that our legacy is about learning and teaching and helping our children and grandchildren found a better life and a better place. This National Memorial is an important part of that legacy, a very special place to honor, to learn, to remember. Here, America has chosen to take a stand for the values that the past generation has taught us. We are determined that lives shall not be lost. We have taken a stand in memory of those who left us all too soon. This place will keep our memories alive so that we need not learn this lesson anew. Because of what happened here, we shall dedicate our efforts to finding better ways of meeting and resolving the discontent of conflict, fear, and uncertainty. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, ancient mariner, would remind us of the thoughtfulness lost in painful redemption in these words: "The moment that his face I see, I know the man that must hear me. To him my tale I teach." Here at this National Memorial, we will teach, and we will teach again, the tale of tragedy and the words of hope. We have learned a lesson that everyone should know. It is our responsibility to keep that legacy alive. Please allow me, my fellow Americans, in closing, this one hope. That is, that this National Memorial shall always stand as a beacon on the watchtower of human endeavor, reminding us of our individual and collective responsibility to strive without hesitation or doubt to achieve that which is set forth in the preamble of our Constitution, to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. In the memory of those whom we honor and remember on this day, at this very special place, we shall not, as a community, as a nation, as a people, do less. We cannot afford to do less. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Stanton. As is written on the wall of the Journal Record Building, the discovery of truth and the pursuit of justice have been important to all who were touched deeply by this tragedy. Our nation's top law enforcement official has extended her heart to us. She's acted as our advocate, and she's led the pursuit of truth and justice on our behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Department of Justice, the Attorney General of the United States, Janet Reno.
To all the people of Oklahoma City, thank you for showing America how to stand up to the evil that spawned that blast from hell. You have helped us renew our spirit and our love of this country. And we come to reaffirm our faith that the human spirit, which binds us together, is stronger than the evil that would tear us apart. You have proven that once again. We've come to rededicate ourselves to the belief that we can build a better, stronger society where conflicts are resolved peacefully, where laws are enforced justly, and where every individual enjoys the freedom and the security to have a life of respect and constructive pursuit. I am so very honored to be asked to speak here today on behalf of the wonderful people with whom I work at the Department of Justice, many of whom have traveled from all over the country to be here today. We are here to remember, to honor, to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and to pledge ourselves. We at the Department of Justice will remember and will hold in our hearts always those that were killed here. We honor the survivors, the families, the rescuers. It has been so wonderful to come across this nation and to see the wonderful people, fire personnel, rescue workers, who still draw such strength from you and your examples in those first days. We come to say thank you. Thank you for your warm and unfailing support for the investigators and for the prosecution team, who with your help showed that justice can and will prevail and that our system does work. And we pledge to you on this sacred site that the Department of Justice will never stop in its pursuit of peace, in its efforts to stop violence, in its determination to prevent terrorism wherever possible, and its absolute abiding dedication to bringing people to justice who hurt others in this land. This memorial, like this community, will always stand for justice. Justice is that deep and abiding peace that comes when wrong is righted and when hurt begins to heal. Justice is found in that place in the human heart which sparks the desire on the part of all human beings to do good, to help others less fortunate, to stand against tyranny, to fight for freedom, to support those in need. In the face of an evil that staggers the soul, you demonstrated the triumph of the human spirit. And this memorial and the peace it will bring stands for your triumph. 5 years ago, we became bound together by shared tragedy. Now we are bound together not merely by the memory of what was lost, but also their spirit, and by the knowledge that men and women of goodwill can come together in tragedy and in crisis to stand against evil and hate, to stand for justice and love, to stand for this nation and all that we hold dear. Thank you for leading the way.
Mr. President, we are becoming whole, and you have been with us throughout. The first call that I received from out of state after this building was shattered was from you. You celebrated with us the passage and the signing of the memorial legislation. You celebrated with us when we completed the fundraising to put every child through college who lost one or both parents or who was injured in the blast. You celebrated with us when we completed the fundraising to finish this memorial and to finish this museum and interactive museum. You have been with us throughout. On behalf of our entire Oklahoma family, I think I speak with no hesitation and no exaggeration when I say we are very grateful to you. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Governor Keating. I wanted to be here today, and I was grateful to be asked. I wanted to thank you and Kathy for all you have done. Thank you, Senator Nichols and members of the Congressional delegation. Thank you, Mayor Humphreys, and I thank your predecessor, Mayor Norick. Thank you, Chairman Johnson. Thank you, Karen Luke. I thank all of the federal leaders who are here today who lost their employees and worked so hard, Attorney General Reno and our Secretaries of Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development and Transportation, the leaders of the Office of Personnel Management, the Customs, the ATF, and the Secret Service, and many others. I thank Bob Stanton and the Park Service for making sure this place will be well cared for forever. I thank that unknown number of people who contributed to the building of this magnificent monument and to the scholarship fund. I thank General Farrell and all those who are working and will work here from now on to combat terrorism. I congratulate the young couple who designed this magnificent memorial, and I think we should give them a round of applause. I thank the Oklahoma City Philharmonic Brass and the Memorial Community Choir and Chantel Smith for their ringing and wonderful music today. Most of all, I thank the families who lost your loved ones, the survivors and your families, the rescue workers and the family of Oklahoma for setting an example for America. I can add little now to the words and music, even more to the silence and amazing grace of this memorial. Its empty chairs recall the mercy seat of Old Testament Scripture, a place for the children of God to come for renewal and dedication. So this is a day both for remembrance and for renewal. Hillary and I will never forget being with you at that first memorial service while the rescue teams were still searching. I know the last 5 years have not been easy. I hope you can take some comfort in knowing that, just as I said 5 years ago, America is still with you. And that with this memorial, you can know America will never forget. As the governor said in alluding to Gettysburg, there are places in our national landscape so scarred by freedom's sacrifice that they shape forever the soul of America. Valley Forge, Gettysburg, Selma. This place is such sacred ground. I think you should all know that it was on this exact day, 225 years ago, that the American Revolution began. What a 225 years it has been. The brave Americans we lost here 220 years later were not fighting a war, but they were patriots in service to their fellow citizens, just as much as the police and fire and other public servants are here among us today. And they were children whose promise keeps our old democracy forever young. 5 years ago, the cowards who killed them made a choice to attack this building and the people in it because they wanted to strike a blow at America's heartland, at the core of our nation's being. This was an attack on all America and every American. 5 years later, we are here because you made a choice to choose hope and love over despair and hatred. It is easy for us to say today, and even perhaps easy for you to clap today. But I know that this wise choice was also a very hard one, especially for the families of the victims. I know there are still days when the old anger wells up inside you. Still days when tears fill your eyes, when you think your heart will surely break. On those days in the future, I hope you can come here and find solace in the memory of your loved ones and the honor of your fellow citizens. I hope you can find the strength to live a full and loving life, free of hatred which only cripples. I believe your loved ones would want you to have that life. And though you have given too much, you still have so much to give. The great writer Ralph Ellison, who was a native of this city, once said, "America is woven of many strands. Our fate is to become one, and yet many." On April 19, 1995, our many strands became one in love and support for you, and in our determined opposition to terrorism. You taught us again how much stronger we are when we all stand together in our common humanity to protect life, liberty, and the rule of law for all. We may never have all the answers for what happened here, but as we continue our journey toward understanding, one truth is clear. What was meant to break has made you stronger. As I left the White House today, I looked, as I often do, at your tree, the beautiful dogwood Hillary and I planted on the south lawn 5 years ago for those who were lost here. 5 years later, that tree stands a little taller. Its spring flowers are a little fuller. Its roots have dug in a little deeper. But it's still a young tree. 5 years isn't a very long time for trees to grow, or for wounds to heal and hearts to mend. But today, like your beautiful dogwood tree on the White House lawn, Oklahoma City clearly is blooming again. For that, all your fellow Americans, and indeed decent, good people all over the world, are grateful to you and grateful to God for the grace that led you on. In Romans it is said, "The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. May you keep on your armor of light. May you keep your light shining on this place of hope, where memories of the lost and the meaning of America will live forever. May God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. President. With your assistance, I believe Oklahoma has reminded the world that ours is a great nation, capable of repelling terrorism and its insidious effects, a nation capable of great compassion. In April of 1995, when you were here, you told us that you would stay by our side until our work is done. We offer our heartfelt gratitude for the keeping of that promise. I also would like to thank so many that have helped us make this memorial journey. In June of 1995, when then Oklahoma City Mayor Ron Norick appointed me to lead a 350-member memorial task force, we knew we would need broad-based support to complete this memorial. As we have diligently worked toward this day, I have been inspired by the dedication of an incredible memorial staff and hundreds of selfless volunteers. They have facilitated the memorial process with great devotion, dignity, and sensitivity, always with a clear focus of the distinctive nature of our charge. Please join me in expressing our very sincere appreciation for their efforts. One of those dedicated volunteers is Karen Luke, the chair of the Oklahoma City National Memorial Foundation. Karen, will you please join me to lead the Unison reading that will raise the nation's lasting tribute by dedicating this hallowed place. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please turn to page 10 of your program and join us in this dedication. Today, in keeping with the occasion that brings us together, we come here first to remember. We remember the tragedy that has taken from us our loved ones, our civil servants, and our fellow citizens.
We will remember. We come here to honor those who have gone before us, as well as those who have overcome this tragedy. We honor each family and individual who was victimized by this event. We honor those who came to their rescue and who have continued to support and comfort those individuals affected.
We honor you. We commit ourselves to making our nation safer. In creating this memorial, we are a living witness of our dedication to this task. This memorial represents the commitment of the people of Oklahoma and the nation to the preservation of peace and the sanctity of life.
We humbly dedicate this memorial. Please now join us as we observe 168 seconds of silence in honor of those who were killed.
Mr. President, would you please join me, accompanied by Governor Keating, Mrs. Keating, Karen Luke, John Cole, Priscilla Sayers, Hans Butzer, Tories Butzer, and Sven Borg, our very talented designers, and Chief Mars, for the ribbon ceremony to officially open to the world the Oklahoma City National Memorial.
man. Off Thursday.
Yeah, man. What'd you say, man?
Oh, you didn't hear that?
I heard part of it. I heard that part. But what else you say?
Might be a little late on Friday, man.
Huh? No more 3-day weekend, man? What is she doing Friday? She working? She's off? Why is she making us go in, man? We're out longer. They went to their houses. And then right there. No, you think so? Did you and her? Who's duty? Who's duty? But now, who's your partner? What is he doing? It should be, well, whoever the duty person is at that night. It should be Jim and you. I mean, they should try to give you off, too, because you're out the longest. You sure Jim is off Friday? I don't want to get that, man. If I go in there, I don't give a shit if I have to stay there all day. Yeah. I mean, if you go in, you go in, you know what I mean?